I want to talk today about rock bottom. Now, it's a concept that we're all familiar with. You don't need to be an addict, you don't need to be in recovery to understand the principles of rock bottom. It's often perpetuated that rock bottom is the point at which things can't get any worse, things can only get better. And in this video, I want to discuss my own personal experience with rock bottom and why some of the misconceptions and fallacies around rock bottom can actually make it quite a dangerous concept to those experiencing addiction. Very quickly though, I just want to say hello, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are an existing subscriber, thank you. Your comments, likes, subscriptions and all the rest of it are very much appreciated. Helps spread the message, helps reach more people and hopefully helps help a few more people as well. So thank you very much. And if you're not already subscribed and you think this video is helpful by the time you get to the end of it, then just do us a favour and hit that button. So let's talk about rock bottom. Now, let's talk about my own. First and foremost, I will say, as I always do, that this video is based purely on my experience and on the things I believe that I personally learnt throughout my recovery. And it's not to be taken as professional advice, and it's certainly not to be taken as me elevating myself to a high horse position, telling everyone how they should behave, what they should do, and what their recovery should look like. It's different for everyone. I remember my what I would consider my rock bottom moment very well. I wasn't in work that day. I had an unauthorised absence, as I would call it. I believe I'd had a significant gambling loss the night before on an online casino and literally could barely face getting out of bed, let alone going to work and having to deal with people. So I'd taken the day off. And what I did on that day off was fairly predictable. I lounged around feeling sorry for myself until I'd managed to gain the motivation to do, yes, exactly that. I got the last of my cash, which was literally all the money I had in the world, and I went out and I gambled. And I remember thinking, as that last £20 note went into the machine, it doesn't get any worse than this. I then had to walk home because obviously I couldn't afford a taxi or a bus or anything of that nature. And knowing that I was going to be in trouble at work the next day, I then went home and ended up having a row with my then partner. The reason for this row was because I was being grumpy, moody, irrational, and basically a bit of an arsehole. Now, if you are a gambling addict or a recovering gambling addict, I'm sure you know that state of mind very well and how irrational and basically unpleasant we can be after a significant loss. So I genuinely thought at this point, well, things can't get any worse. And maybe you've come to this video in a similar state of mind. Maybe you too have just had a big argument. Maybe you too have just had a big gambling loss. Basically spend all your money for the week, for the month, and don't have anything to live on now until the next payday. We've all been there. So I didn't think things could get any worse. And this is where I believe rock bottom is quite a dangerous concept. Because when we perceive rock bottom, we see the visions and the messages we're fed through years and generations of TV and film and all the rest of it. The protagonist has their rock bottom moment. Things go to absolute shit. They're on the balls of their ass. And then 5 minutes later, after a cheesy montage, possibly involving them pouring alcohol down the sink or going to the gym or going for a run with a sweaty headband on, all to the background of 80s cheesy rock music, 5 minutes later, after this said montage, they're suddenly out the other side. They're better, they're cured, their life is infinitely improved. All because they got into recovery. Now, whilst I would, it would be very remiss of me not to say that getting into recovery is very much the best thing you can possibly do. And yes, absolutely, if you get into and you maintain a recovery from your addiction, your life will improve exponentially, and I can almost promise you that. But it isn't a quick fix, and using rock bottom as a point at which to kick off your recovery is an incredibly dangerous principle. And there's several reasons for this. On that day, I believed that things couldn't get any worse. Of course, they could. Rock bottom, as is always said, and I've said multiple times, it's become a bit of a cliche to be honest, rock bottom has a basement. Yes, I was walking home. Yes, I went home and had a row with my wife and had to go into work the next day and face the music and the consequences for my unauthorised absence. But things you'll notice there is that I had a home to walk home to. I had a partner to have a row with, and I had a job in which I could go and get bollocked by my boss the next day. Rock bottom could easily be I didn't have a home to walk home to. My partner had already left me. I'd already been sacked from my job. And even then, you could find ways in which your life can get worse. The only true rock bottom is where there is basically a point at which there is no chance of recovery. There is no chance of getting your foot back onto that ladder and starting to elevate yourself up the rungs of recovery from addiction. And that point, ultimately, without sugarcoating it, is death. And unfortunately, that is the point at which some people tragically find themselves. So waiting for rock bottom to happen is dangerous, because ultimately there is only one true rock bottom, and that's certainly not something you want to wait for in order to start perpetuating your recovery. No cheesy 80s montage and B-roll footage is going to see you out of that one. The other problem is that it becomes exponentially difficult to recover from any addiction the further and further down this hole you go. The bigger a hole you dig for yourself, the exponentially harder it is to get out of. Now you're watching this video now. I'd like to think that means that you very least have a phone, electricity, hopefully a roof over your head, which means that even if you have lost your job, you do have the facilities, the mobility in order to go and get another job. Yes, it might not be as good as the one you had previously, but it's a foot back on the ladder of recovery. If you find yourself without a phone, means of communication, means of transport, without a roof over your head, without sufficient food, then your ability to get a job and actually get back onto that ladder of recovery is somewhat more significantly compromised. It becomes harder and harder. Not impossible, but certainly exponentially harder. So why would you wait until such a point before you start to do something about it? I made a video a couple of videos ago about the fact I started going to the gym. Now, the reason I made this video is because actually I can see an awful lot of parallels between my desire to, stop being so fat and unhealthy as I could see with my gambling recovery. Why had I decided that I wanted to not be overweight anymore, that I wanted to be a bit fitter and healthier? Why would I wait until my weight had, got worse? Why would I wait until my health had declined further? Say I don't weigh myself, but say I'm 17 stone now. Why would I say to myself, well, actually, what I want to do is wait till I'm 25 stone, got a heart condition, got diabetes and all the rest of it, and then I'll start going to the gym. Then I'll start my health recovery. It's the same with gambling. If you find yourself in a particularly bad spot, maybe it is the worst your life has been because of your addiction. If you can acknowledge that it can get worse, then why would you continue to wait for that to happen just to make your recovery harder? If I want to lose 4 stone now, why would I wait till I needed to lose 10 stone to get back to the same point? I hope that makes sense. Now, the other reason that using rock bottom as a kick-off for recovery is a terrible idea is actually a sort of slightly more abstract one. If you think, well, actually, I'm going to wait for things to get seriously bad, and this could be more likely a subconscious decision than a conscious one, be underneath it all, you might think, well, things aren't that bad. I've still got the partner, still got the job, still got the house, still got the car. I'm not at rock bottom. If I get to that point, that's when I'll quit. That's when I'll get into recovery. That's when I'll do something about it. Not only are you making your eventual recovery, which you'll need to form so you don't end up on that flat line, not only are you making that more and more difficult by the day, what you are in essence doing is giving yourself a pass. You're making an excuse to continue gambling. It's like the gym goer saying, right, I'm going to pile on as much weight as I can to reach this arbitrary place, and then I will go and lose it. Then I will go and get fit. Then I will go and get healthy. The problem is obviously you don't know what other side effects you're going to reach in the meantime. You might think, well, when my bank account's empty, then I'll give up gambling. But then there's loans, then there's bankruptcy, then there's house repossessions and all the rest of it, loss of jobs. So, as someone much smarter than myself once said, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is now. If you know you're suffering from a gambling addiction, if you know that you're making your life worse by the day, even if you know that your life could get worse, and trust me, it can nearly always get worse, then don't wait for that rock bottom moment. Don't wait for that flat line before you try and kickstart your recovery, because you'll find it so much harder, and there is no telling what further damage you'll do to you, to those around you, and to your future in the interim. Please don't be a new statistic. Stay safe, stay sane, look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.